He had no talent. That's the accusation Jerry Rice faced when Randy Moss declared himself the greatest wide receiver of all time. But the truth behind Rice's legendary career isn't about lacking talent. It's about possessing an almost unmatched drive that made him view anyone showing less dedication as a threat to success. For 20 years in the NFL, Rice built his greatness on one simple rule: never stop preparing. He hated days off during training camp. He viewed rest as lost ground, feeling he needed every single repetition to perfect his craft and study defensive schemes. This obsession was so intense that Rice would arrive at camp early with rookies, way before veterans were scheduled to report. His commitment confused even his own teammates. Because of this impossible standard, Rice developed conflicts with people who showed inconsistency, inefficiency, or anything that undermined exhaustive preparation. But here's the surprising part: his deepest grudges weren't held against opponents who beat him on the field. They were aimed at those who compromised the integrity of hard work itself. The person Rice disliked most wasn't even a player. It was Norv Turner, a coach Rice has repeatedly called the worst he ever played for, spanning his entire football life from youth leagues through the pros. No other person received such harsh, sustained criticism from Rice. The conflict began when Turner coached the Oakland Raiders. He chose to bury Rice on the depth chart to develop younger receivers like Doug Gabriel, Alvis Whitted, and Ronald Curry. Remember, this was a Jerry Rice who at age 40 had just posted 92 catches for over 1,200 yards. Turner's decision felt like fundamental disrespect to Rice's proven commitment and output. Things got worse when Turner traded Rice to Seattle essentially for free. This move confirmed Rice's belief that Turner completely undervalued his ability and experience. Beyond personnel decisions, Rice attacked Turner's coaching philosophy, saying he was someone who just can't get you over the hump. Rice compared Turner unfavorably to his mentor, Bill Walsh, who provided the strategic structure and inspiration to maximize player potential. This sustained feeling of being strategically misused and professionally undervalued kept Rice publicly criticizing Turner for years. Another major breach of trust involved Bill Callahan before Super Bowl 37. After the Raiders lost badly to Tampa Bay, Rice publicly supported teammate Tim Brown's explosive claim that Callahan had sabotaged the team. The accusation centered on Callahan drastically changing the offensive game plan right before the Super Bowl. The team prepared all week for a run-heavy approach, but Callahan suddenly switched to a pass-heavy strategy. Rice and Brown suggested this was deliberate because Callahan wanted to lose. For Rice, whose entire career was built on meticulous weekly preparation, having a coach compromise team readiness represented the ultimate betrayal. This incident created permanent mistrust regarding Callahan's professional integrity. If you're enjoying this look at what really drove Jerry Rice's conflicts, hit subscribe and drop a comment about whether you think work ethic or raw talent matters more in sports. Even later in his career, Rice extended his coaching criticism to Jim Harbaugh when he coached the 49ers. Rice publicly shared concerns from current players that Harbaugh's collegiate mentality and coaching wouldn't work in the NFL. Having thrived under Bill Walsh's disciplined, sophisticated system, Rice judged all subsequent coaches on their ability to manage and motivate elite veterans. He saw Harbaugh's approach as a regression toward less professional, less effective management. These conflicts show that Rice's deepest professional animosity was reserved for authority figures whose decisions he perceived as compromising professional standards. The most interesting conflict involved Randy Moss, but it wasn't about hatred. It was a philosophical debate about the definition of greatness itself. When Moss publicly declared himself the greatest wide receiver ever, Rice responded with specific criticism about professional consistency and dedication. His primary response was that he never took any plays off and always gave 100%. He emphasized that his superior body of work was built on exhaustive effort. Rice fully acknowledged Moss's exceptional physical gifts, calling him the most talented receiver, with incredible size at 6'5", blazing speed running a 4.3-second 40-yard dash, and amazing jumping ability. But Rice concluded that immense talent meant nothing without supreme internal commitment. He stressed that true greatness must come from your heart. This transformed the debate from simple statistics into a moral argument about competitive integrity. By targeting Moss's perceived inconsistency, Rice asserted his records were ethically earned through absolute commitment, placing work ethic above innate talent. Statistical comparisons generally support Rice's consistency argument, showing his superior career totals, more games with 3 or more touchdowns, more games exceeding 150 receiving yards, and incredible longevity. This philosophical disagreement with Moss contrasts sharply with Rice's rivalry with Cowboys receiver Michael Irvin during the 90s. Despite intense team competition, their post-career interactions featured playful banter, like debating whether using gloves gave advantages. Irvin has publicly called Rice the greatest ever. This distinction proves Rice generally reserved criticism for those failing to uphold his ethical standard of relentless commitment. Now let's discuss the rivalry everyone remembers. Deion Sanders represents Rice's apex competitive challenge, but it was based on profound mutual respect, not hatred. The matchup became a GOAT versus GOAT narrative because it perfectly clashed contrasting football philosophies. Rice was the low low-key, disciplined grinder whose greatness came from blue-collar work ethic. Sanders was the flashy, flamboyant defensive back whose talent made everything look effortless. The psychological intensity was massive. Rice admitted that before playing Saunders, he could not sleep, illustrating unique mental stress compared to any other defender. He framed their battle as mano a mano, a direct personal test of wills and skill. Rice detailed his tactical approach to handling Sanders through exhaustive week-long preparation. He stressed having a robust game plan, taking intense repetitions during practice and implementing double moves. Crucially, he aimed to be the aggressor, wanting to attack Sanders right from the start, following Bill Walsh's counsel to always win at the line of scrimmage. This meticulous preparation ensured psychological pressure maximized rather than diminished Rice's performance. The historical data confirms the exceptional rivalry. Rice and Sanders met 10 times during Sanders' stints with Atlanta and Dallas, with teams splitting contests 5-5. Despite Sanders' defensive prowess, Rice maintained elite production with 60 receptions for over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns in those matchups. Sanders achieved success too, with 4 interceptions and 1 kickoff return touchdown against Rice's teams. The rivalry's intensity transcended typical opponent relationships. Sanders briefly became Rice's invaluable teammate on the 49ers during their 1994 Super Bowl season, showing professional respect could coexist with competitive tension. When Sanders joined rival Dallas, Rice recognized the contest would become a big-time rivalry all over again because audiences demanded to see them battle. Their relationship remains an enduring competitive link, continuing through their sons playing college football today. It's essential to note that Rice's language about Sanders, saying he respected him, indicates this relationship never crossed into genuine animosity. Sanders forced Rice to execute preparation perfectly, serving as a catalyst for excellence rather than a source of professional hatred. The term hated rival functions as media shorthand for ultimate competitive focus. Beyond Sanders, Rice respected other elite defensive players who demanded maximum preparation. He consistently named Darrell Green as the second toughest defensive back he faced, citing Green's exceptional speed. Facing Green required unique strategy, demanding Rice disrupt Green's base immediately at the snap. Rice also singled out other cornerbacks who demanded elite preparation. Rod Woodson earned respect for both speed and physical playing style. Lester Hayes was noted for playing Rice tough early in his career, constantly being on top of coverage. Isiak Holt was praised for meticulous study habits and ability to read Rice as well as anyone. These acknowledgments demonstrate that most of Rice's competitive relationships were characterized by mutual respect, driven by preparation necessity. Rice's focus on external antagonism is highlighted by complete absence of documented feuds with Hall of Fame quarterbacks Joe Montana and Steve Young. He famously described his relationship with Montana as having such perfect chemistry that if Joe was female, they would have dated. His animosity was focused outward, targeting threats to preparation, trust, and commitment. So who did Jerry Rice absolutely hate? The answer reveals something profound about what drove the greatest receiver ever. His highest documented antagonism was reserved for Norv Turner, whose decisions to deprioritize and trade Rice represented severe professional slight against a player defined by unrelenting results. Turner received Rice's strongest, most sustained condemnation as the worst coach from Pop Warner to pros. The second category involved challenges to professional integrity, notably Bill Callahan, accused by Rice of sabotaging the Raiders' Super Bowl effort. The third category was the philosophical conflict with Randy Moss, a feud driven by Rice's belief that Moss squandered generational talent through inconsistent effort, devaluing the commitment required for greatest of all-time status. In contrast, the rivalry with Deion Sanders represents intense competitive challenge that inspired peak performance and was rooted in profound mutual respect, confirming high-level competition was welcomed, not hated. The hierarchy of Rice's professional conflicts demonstrates his antagonists were ultimately those forcing him to confront perceived professional failings, inconsistency, incompetence, or mistrust that compromised his pursuit of perfection. Rice's story teaches us that his pursuit of perfection was the true driving force behind his career. He welcomed competition, but had zero tolerance for those he viewed as unprofessional or lazy. He pushed himself to absolute limits and expected everyone around him to match that standard. This uncompromising philosophy is the real reason he's considered the greatest of all time. His conflicts weren't about lacking talent or hating talented opponents. They were about demanding that everyone involved in football honor the game through total commitment. Before you go, make sure to subscribe for more incredible sports stories that go beyond the headlines and show you what really drives legendary athletes like Jerry Rice.